wanted to take some time tonight to focus on Jimmy, as his friends and family know him. And I wanted to talk about who Jimmy is and what Jimmy loves to do and the good things about Jimmy, because those are the things that I think are the only true things that exist in that boy. He's somebody that everybody who knew him loved, respected, and looked up to. And so for that, I think that this next video should be in honor of who Jimmy James Holmes really is. And I would like to share with you first an article that he wrote to submit with his college application. Let me see, lower this. He writes, "Behind the cluster of houses, rows upon rows of strawberries grew in the Salinas Valley. As a child, I passed these strawberry fields every day on my way to school into the town of Castroville, the artichoke center of the world. At school, everyone wore a mandatory uniform consisting of navy blue jeans for the boys and a navy blue skirt for the girls, while everyone donned a white t-shirt. I didn't know at the time why uniforms were necessary, but later I discovered the uniforms were issued to curb gang rivalry. Looking back, my life could have gone in a completely different direction had I not possessed the foresight to choose the path of knowledge. I chose to appreciate an education, cultivating my mind. Since then, I have strived to find new and better ways to learn, to improve. This is why I aim to attend graduate school, and why my primary aim is to explore learning and memory. In the field of cognitive neuroscience, researchers come from many different backgrounds and bring part of who they are to their investigations. I too will bring my past, specifically my strong moral upbringing, and that just so stands out to me, his strong moral upbringing, and I do believe with all of my heart that that is absolutely true. I've heard nothing but wonderful things about those people, about Mr. and Mrs. Holmes, and my heart goes out to you if you ever see this. We pray for your family every day, and you've got a special place in our hearts, you all do. Anyhow, continuing on in the essay, he says, in addition, I will also exemplify my resolution and clairvoyance in problem solving. These abilities and more are typified in a summer job I performed as a camp counselor for underprivileged children. I love this part. Assuming a leadership role was something I was previously unaccustomed to, but I took on the task with fervor. For the next week, 12 boys ages 10 to 11 would look up to me for guidance and direction in Cheyenne Cabin. Following them, 9 more weeks with 9 more groups. Every day there were activities for the kids, but one of the activities, called Create Your Own, where did I lose my place? Called Create Your Own, yes, okay, tended to turn into chaos. At first, I chose to let the kids decide what they wanted to do and put it to a vote. Democracy, right? Bad idea. Some wanted to go to the game room, others wanted to rest, some wanted to go to the field, but there's just no way to manage everyone if they all split up. The outcome resulted in 12 kids arguing with each other, name-calling and pushing. That sounds about right, right? I would say. To resolve these types of incidents from occurring again, I changed my strategy. Create Your Own became game room on Monday, sports on Tuesday, drawing on Wednesday, and if the kids were really good, I devised something special for them, like lizard catching. I love that because I've done that with my nephew, and I know how much that meant to him to do that with those kids, because I know how much it meant to me to do it with my nephew, and I still have pictures of it, and today I'll never forget, and I think that those memories are probably, really probably important memories to James too. In the middle of that week, when the campers were writing letters to home about their experience, their camp experience, one of the little guys asked me how to spell amazing. When it was time for each cabin to go home, there were always kids telling me they wanted the same cabin next summer, and if I would be back again to be their cabin counselor. At those moments, I felt a sense of unparalleled accomplishment. Other times, I felt that I could be doing more. On average, 2 of the kids per cabin were clinically diagnosed with ADHD. One of the weeks, I mentored a kid with schizophrenia. At 3:30 in the morning, he woke up and vacuumed the ceiling of our cabin. These kids were heavily medicated, but this did not solve their problems. It just created new problems. The medication changed them from highly energetic, creative kids to lax beings who slept through the activities. I wanted to help them, but I couldn't. This is where neuroscience research becomes invaluable. With a neuroscience doctorate, there is even more to accomplish. Those most in need of an education, including children and people with cognitive disabilities, can benefit from the results of research into the workings of learning, memory, and brain power relations. Indeed, all aspects of society have the potential to gain from advancements in our understanding of learning and memory because we are all connected. We all share one brain, the human brain. I mean, there's so much in that, and I've read it more than one time. There's so much in that just shows what a compassionate, caring, loving person Jimmy really is. And he wanted to help people. He wanted to make a difference in the lives of those who struggled. And he wanted to dedicate the rest of his life to making other people's lives, as good as they could be. That's not someone that I think is capable of something like this. That's him. And the world should be celebrating him, not hating him. He said, the little guy asked me how to spell amazing. That's a beautiful gift to give a child. People who want to give a child a gift like that aren't going out to shoot a child. You don't. If you have that much love in your heart and that much goodness in you, you can't do something like this. It's not in you. It's not what you're made of. You're not made up of those possible. You're not made up of those particles to possibly do something like that. There's different types of people in the world, and I'm a very, very good judge of character. I've been around a lot of different people, and I usually can tell, about people like pretty fast. Like, if I meet somebody within a good minute, I'm pretty sure about whether or not I would ever hang out with this person again. And that, and you see pictures and video of Jimmy, and you hear about him through neighbors and teachers, and he reminds me a lot of myself, and I could never do something like that, and I just don't think that he could either. I just don't see that. I can't see that when I look at him. When I look at him, I just see someone who looks like a terrified little boy in a man's body, and he looks scared, he looks sad, and he looks very confused. And if you see good in someone, then you should also do everything that you can so that other people see that same goodness in them as well. And so that's why I wanted to do this video tonight. There's so many pictures of Jimmy, doing silly things, like he was Gandhi in a school play or something, and then there was one, I don't know what they were doing. He was with a group of his friends, and they had like this putty paint stuff on him, and he's like, he just looks like he's having a blast. He just looks happy. He looks, that's the thing, he looks happy. And he had everything going for him. And happy people that have friends and have a happy life, have a good family, which he obviously has a beautiful mother and father. They've been there to support him since day one of this whole thing. And a lot of parents would not be there. So he's got beautiful family. And it just breaks my heart to think that this kid could spend the rest of his life in jail, or, God forbid, worse, over something that he may not even have done. I mean, it's not a far-fetched thing. These things happen all the time. People go to jail, and then they go in jail, and they yell, and they carry on for 20 years. I didn't do this. And everybody thinks they're just crazy. And then some sort of DNA comes out, and, they run the tests, and lo and behold, the man was telling the truth, and he just lost 40 years of his life. How can we allow something like that to happen to someone whose life has so much to contribute to this world? That would be an unjust thing across the board. It would be unfair to him first and foremost. And it would be unfair to the rest of the world too, because he has a lot of gifts to offer. He's brilliant. His heart is good. He wants to help people. He has the intelligence enough to learn how to do that. And he has the desire to follow through. So, I don't know. I know he played soccer, and he was pretty good. And I learned that he played Irish piano, which I thought was cool. That's really cool, because I play piano too, but I could never play Irish piano. That's like a whole art in and of itself. An art I do not possess the talent to do. Give me jazz, fiddle-diddling, I'm good. Give me Irish, I got nothing. But he should be able to play his piano again. He should be studying. He should be with his friends. He should be he should be making cures for diseases and doing research that could change mankind on some extravagant level. He's got the intelligence enough to do that. It's just, there's more to this than what the mainstream media is telling us. And I think that that's pretty obvious. I think everybody agrees with that at this point. But I don't know how to get the truth out. If I were a lawyer, I mean, I've won 300 litigations on my own, but they were copyright, infringement and copyright fraud. And I won because I knew in my heart I was right. And so I wasn't going to say no for an answer. You know what I'm saying? And I have that same passion for this case with James. I just feel in my heart that I know that he didn't do this. In the core of my being, with every cell of my body, I don't think he did this. I don't think he did it. And I wish I were a lawyer. I wish I were a lawyer, because if I were a lawyer, I would go in there and I would take this case. I wouldn't even charge anybody for it. I would just do it because it would be the right thing to do, because it's about seeking truth. It's about finding out how deep the rabbit hole goes and finding out the truth and doing what's right by one person. And that one person is James Holmes. His life is just as valuable than all of our lives. So we should treat him with the same amount of care and consideration and respect as we would hope someone would treat us if we were in his position and did not commit this crime. And I think that most of the world doesn't feel that way, which is sad. But I feel that way. And trying to get to the, I went to the arraignment on the 12th, and I'm trying so hard to get to the one on April 1st. I've been in the middle of getting a new job, and so I'm not going to get paid until after that. So it's just this whole big stupid thing. And so I'm trying to find somebody who might have flyer miles or a buddy pass or something so that I can go, because One thing I did learn when I was there for the arraignment was how bad the media twisted things up. I mean, I read it and I was really mad at it. Like, they had one thing that was out and it said, James Holmes sat silent, refusing to enter a plea. And they kind of made it sound like he was being an arrogant piece of crap. And there, yeah, he just sat there and he wouldn't even speak. And it wasn't like that. First of all, he wasn't asked to speak, okay? And you're in a courtroom, and if, like, unless you're asked to speak, you don't speak. So that's A. But B, anybody who actually was there should know better than to write something like that. And shame on you. Shame on you bad for writing that, because that was not the truth. If you watch my video of the arraignment overview, you can see what did happen. But the short version of that video is that the judge entered a plea of not guilty on behalf of James Holmes just to keep the process moving forward. Because, you know, the prosecution was saying they already had enough time to enter a plea. And so there are certain cases that a judge can enter a plea of not guilty on behalf of a defendant, which gives them what they need to be able to move forward and set a trial date and all of those things. But for the full explanation of how that will work and what happens after, you can watch my other video and it's very clear. Like this. Like, I don't get like this over cases. I don't get like this over people. Every once in a while, something strikes me in the core of my being. And the last time it happened to me was 6 years ago, maybe longer, no, almost 9 years ago. Good Lord. With my grandfather's music, which is another story, but I was so passionate about it because I knew I was right, and I knew that what they had done to him was terrible, and he died that way, and I'm not gonna leave it like that, So I went up against the people who had done those things to him, and I won 300 cases against them on my own without a lawyer because I cared about it. I really cared about it. And I still care about it. And aside from him being my grandfather, I don't like to watch people treat other people wrong. I have a huge heart, and when I see something that isn't right, and it's at someone else's expense, and on a level of this magnitude, I feel like, what kind of person would I be if I didn't at least try to do something? I mean, there was a guy, I think it was a boxer named the Hurricane, and he was on death row for a murder he didn't commit. And he was in there for a long, long time. And he had ran out of his appeals or whatever. And this little boy wrote to him and took an interest in his case. And the boy told his parents had adopted him, and he told his parents, he said, I don't think that he did this. And the parents were like, really? Like, this is coming from our 10-year-old? And they said, why? And so he said, I just don't think he did it. And he had said, will you help him? And so, because the kid was so passionate about it, they said yes, they would help. And they actually wound up getting him out of prison and off death row because he was in fact wrongly accused of a murder he did not commit and had lost 20 years of his life. And I don't want to see that happen to Jimmy. And so when I think about James in solitary confinement, and he's all alone all day, and his head's hitting the pillow to go to sleep at night, and he's alone, and he's scared, and he's confused, and he doesn't know why he's there, and he's got more going through his mind than I can even imagine. All I can do is pray that God keeps him safe. That being said, I also want to say that to Robert and Arlene Holmes, I am just so sorry for everything that you are going through. I can't even imagine what you're going through. And I just want you to know that, my family, we pray for you every day to have the strength that you need to continue to move forward, and we think of you all the time. We hope you are doing all right as best as you can. But on that note, I'm going to end this session so that I can get it out there on the tube. But I just thought tonight it would be important to just focus on who Jimmy was